In this video, I'm going to teach you how to attract Hispanic customers to your store. It doesn't matter what type of store you have, whether it's jewelry store, furniture store, appliance store, car parts store, any type of retail store is able to take advantage of the information in this video to be able to help you tap into the Spanish-speaking market. Now, the question you may ask is like, why even advertise in Spanish, right? Maybe this is new for you, all right? In simple terms, it's a massive underserved market your competitors are ignoring, maybe even you, right? If there's 100 competitors fighting for English-speaking customers, right, with the same type of marketing, there might only be 2 in Spanish or none target the Spanish speaker. What does that mean? Well, it's a huge gold mine, right? Because it's not saturated with the same propaganda every type of retail store is trying to do. Try to bring in an English-speaking client, right? In Spanish, it's very untapped, right? And the numbers don't lie. There's over 40 million Latinos in the States. That's what the U.S. Census says, right? And the number isn't higher if we're being honest here, if we're talking about undocumented immigrants, right? The U.S. Census doesn't count people that don't have papers, right? And the majority of Latinos in the States, or in the USA, don't have papers. So it's a huge opportunity. Right? They have huge purchasing power. Most stores even tap into them. Or maybe you are tapping into them, but not in the correct method. Right? And it's 2 to 3 times cheaper to acquire Hispanic clients due to competitors. You may ask, well, how do you know these numbers? Well, my name is Raul Camarena. If you don't know, I am the owner of Future Media and Advertising Agency that works at 100 plus retail stores, furniture, jewelry, appliance, car parts stores, many different types of categories. And I've done the math. It's about 2 to 3 times cheaper to acquire a Spanish-speaking client. Even more sometimes. It's like 4 or 5 times cheaper, right? Because due to the lack of competitors, right? So you might be already reaching the Hispanic market, right? Or maybe not. In this video, I want to teach you how to bring them in your store effectively and consistently, right? So this video is for people that are already running ads, trying to reach the Spanish-speaking market, or people that are not, right? So, and it's angled more for people, obviously, that are already running marketing to try to bring Spanish-speaking clients, right? But it's still, it also is useful for people that are just like learning about this for the first time. So, many store owners, salespeople, right, wonder why is it so difficult to attract Hispanic and Latino clients? Maybe you live in a high population area where just automatically people of Hispanic origin come to your store. That's natural because you're like maybe in Dallas, maybe in Houston, you're in Texas, California, LA, Miami. They just naturally come to the store, right? But when you try your own methods of marketing, it just doesn't work, right? You try, it doesn't work. Thankfully, like through the grace of God, you live in a high Hispanic population area. They come naturally, but when you try your own marketing, you try to double down and bring these people in, it doesn't work. Or maybe you're in the middle of nowhere, right? And maybe 10% of your demographic is Hispanic. You're just trying to tap into them, and you try to do some advertising in Spanish. It just doesn't work, right? So the question is, why? Why is this happening? And this is what many, right, American, Black American, Arab, our owners of business struggle to do to try to reach the Hispanic market, right? Speaking the language alone doesn't bridge the cultural gap. Right? Many people think, okay, I'm going to post on Facebook Marketplace in Spanish. Or I'm going to post an ad in Spanish, right? Like you don't put much thought into it. You just Google Translate from English to Spanish and hope for the best. Like these people come to your store, right? The reality is Latinos are from people who they feel familiar to, right? People who understand their humor, their energy, their style, the way they communicate. Obviously, like if you use Google Translate to do that in Spanish or the graphic in Spanish, whatever, it still works, right? You're getting messages from Hispanic people, right? But messages doesn't mean sales. Likes doesn't mean sales, right? Comments, virality, views doesn't mean sales. Like, what you really care about is sales, not likes, not like freaking messages. So the question now is, okay, maybe you are running some marketing in Spanish, or maybe you aren't, and you're like, okay, cool, this is interesting. Okay, what do I do, right? We'll talk about that. Don't get too excited. If your message doesn't feel culturally aligned with the Hispanic market, right? It won't matter how perfect your Spanish is, right? The connection simply won't happen, right? And don't get me wrong. AI tools, Spanish caption, Spanish graphics, we're bringing in some Hispanic customers. They work, right? But it only probably unlocks 20% of your real sales potential, right? It's great for volume. You're getting the messages in through the door. Great for volume, okay? But the question now is, how do you take this to the next level? How do you dominate the market of Spanish speakers, right? Everything changes the moment your business has a Hispanic face and presence in its marketing. Okay, I'll talk about that in a bit. I'll show you some examples, right? Just so you have some context. Cultural and social, oh my bad, sorry. I don't know why my throat's a little raspy right now. Cultural and social identity play a massive role in buying decisions. People naturally gravitate towards those who look like them, talk like them, understand them. If your content isn't culturally genuine, it's always harder to attract the Hispanic audience that you want. Look, at the end of the day, the goal is simple. We just want people to go to your store, no matter what, okay? Once a customer is already inside, even if you are not Hispanic, even if like you have no one on your team that is Hispanic, like, Doesn't matter because you already have them in your store. The goal is getting them in your store. Once you get them in your store, you can make up a whole bunch of excuses, right? Oh, that person you were talking to on Marketplace. Oh, that person that you saw in the ad. Well, yeah, that person took a day off or he had an emergency. Hey, but no worry. I speak a little Spanish, poquito Spanish, right? I can still help you out. The whole point is getting people in your store, right? Once you get them in your store, you can make up some BS excuse, right? But at that point, it doesn't matter, right? If you don't have a Spanish-speaking person or Hispanic salesperson or whatever in your store, they're already in your store. Right? What matters is they're already in the store. That's like 90% of the battle. The rest you can handle with great service, right? Even if the language barrier exists. So the whole, I guess, theme of this video is, okay, maybe you're dabbling into Spanish, maybe you're not. How do you dominate the Spanish-speaking market? Oh, like spill the cheese. What is it, Raul? What are you doing? Look, before we get into that, let's talk about some like normal, logical things that maybe you're also aware of. Latinos buy from Latinos. Black people buy from black people. White people buy from white people. Asians buy from Asians. Like you may be wondering, like, why the hell? Let's say you're a black-owned store, okay? The people in your store are African American, black, okay? You may be wondering, maybe you're not wondering, but something that's obvious is the majority of your sales are black, all right? Or maybe you're white, like white as hell, like albino, right? And the majority of your sales are Americans, right? Or maybe you're Asian. The majority of your sales from people are from Asians, or you're Latino, right? Like obviously, like there's like a saying in Spanish, "No paren la frente." It's like people realize that this guy's like Mexican, this guy's Mexican, this guy's Hispanic, and the people in your store is Hispanic. It's no coincidence you attract who you are, right? Obviously, excluding the typical scenario where, like, let's say if you're in a very big like Hispanic population, just automatically people are going to come to your store just because the demographics of the city is skewed towards Hispanic. So it's just outside of obviously like you bringing who you are, obviously the typical factor that is also involved is like what city you're in, right? If you're in freaking Miami, 80% of the market's Hispanic. So just naturally, because you're in a heavily Hispanic city, you're gonna bring a lot of Hispanic, even though maybe you're Asian. But outside of like the phenomena of being in a Spanish city, you're gonna bring a lot of Asians to your store just because you're Asian, right? You bring your people, and it's no coincidence, right? They feel trust with you, right? And the key here, right, is if you want to bring a Latino customer to your store, put a Latino person in the video. Obviously, you get brownie points if the Latino person is in your store, right? The Hispanic person in your store working as a sales rep, right? This is like obviously what you really want at the end of the day. But if you maybe don't have the funds and you really want to try it out, if it's worthwhile, it is really worthwhile. It's a big market you're not reaching. The first step is putting somebody in your videos, in your advertising, in your graphics, okay? And the next step, obviously after that, is putting the Hispanic person in your store as a sales rep to be able to represent the store to the Hispanic community, right? So, and the same applies to any type of audience you're trying to reach. African American, immigrants, Arabs, Haitians, whatever, right? Look, reality is there is discrimination. Whether you like it, you don't like it, there's discrimination. Hispanics prefer with our people, right? We're not gonna go with the white person, even if the white person has better deals. We just like our people better. The trust is there, right? There's cultural barriers. Right? We have to acknowledge, right, that they influence buying behavior, okay? So the key, right, as you're getting hit now, is the first step is putting someone that looks like your ideal demographic, okay, if in this case a Latino, a Hispanic person, in your actual creative, in your actual video ads, okay? That's going to revolutionize everything. And obviously the best scenario is have that person in your content, your ads, to actually be in the store, right? And if it's not in the store, it's not a big deal breaker, right? Like I said, once you're in the store, that's like 90% of the battle. You can make up a whole bunch of excuses. Oh, that person took a day off, whatever. You already have them in your store. But you get brownie points if that person's in the store. How do you get people to create this type of content, right? Let's say you want to go to that area. Like obviously, you don't have to necessarily like hear this part if you already have somebody in your store speaking Spanish, right? It just makes it much easier, right? But let's say you don't want to get somebody full-time now. Maybe in the future you're thinking about, maybe right now first you want to like, maybe, I don't know, you just want to experiment first, right? So, right, when it comes to your advertising, your content, your graphics, your ads, your marketing, okay, you can hire, obviously, a Hispanic sales representative. That's like obviously the first logical choice. That's the easiest. You get them in their store, boom, it's literally a piece of cake. Now you're bringing in Hispanic clients because somebody in your store looks like them, right, speaks like them, and understands them. Number two is influencers, right? Let's say you don't want to hire a full-time salesperson, okay? You can always hire an influencer just to do content for you. Like you pay them every month on a retainer to come to your store, right? You do like content, right? And once they create that content, they can post it on their socials, right? Getting people to go to your store, or you can use the content they create in Spanish, right? And use that as an ad, right? Remember, the key here is Spanish. Everything's Spanish, right? The creative, the content, it's the most effective. It's in the native language, right? So Spanish, right? So you can always hire an influencer. Easy peasy. Or just pay him per job, pay him per video, pay him per month, right? A retainer. This way you have a steady stream of content every month from your ideal demographic. Obviously, the person has to look like your ideal demographic. And obviously, like a big mistake is like you also don't want the influencers to be too pretty, too beautiful, too European face looking like, because reality is, I'm not being like racist here, discriminatory, but like the majority of your clientele that will be coming to your store is not 6 foot, white skin, blue eyes, European skin, Hispanic, right? Maybe they're like 5'5", maybe a little darkened skin. Like that's who you want to be on the videos, like the influencer or the charisma representing. Because if you put something that's gorgeous as an influencer that obviously speaks Spanish, which you can get a lot of horny bastards. Excuse my language, but you're gonna get a lot of people that are just messaging for the wrong reasons. Existing clients, customers, testimonial. This works phenomenally. So anybody that comes to your store ends up buying. Okay, if they're Hispanic, get up to give you a testimonial, right? Be like, hey man, I know you wanted this this item. I'll do a deal for you. I know you wanted a discount. I'll do a deal for you, man. I'll give you a 10% discount, 5% discount. In exchange, all I ask of you is a testimonial in Spanish. Just talk about your experience playing with us. Boom. You give them an incentive to give you a testimonial. Boom. You have your Spanish testimonial, right? It's a win-win, right? And with these Spanish testimonials, now it becomes an ad. You can use this for your marketing. And guess what? Testimonials are way more effective than you shamelessly talking about how great your items are, your services. Right? Nothing beats a customer actually talking about the experience and the product, because now your ideal avatar is like, holy cow, somebody like me already bought for them. Let's buy. They like trust, automatic trust, right? Between the Latino community, right? So that's what you can do. Okay. Another thing you can do is get a girlfriend. I know this is not very ethical, but there is a client of mine. He's like, fuck, man, I like, excuse my language again. I'm sorry, I sometimes speak like that. He's like, God damn it, I need to get more Hispanic clients. I'm like, how do I do it? How do I do it? He just started like hooking up with this like Latina chick, and he's like, hey babe, can you get in my advertising for my business? I'll take you out to eat or whatever. Like, obviously you want to get somebody that's like social. You don't want to get like a very shy Hispanic chick or guy in this case, right? You got to make sure the person's like outgoing and okay, cool, okay, boom, she's in the videos now. Okay, you get somebody that does Spanish for you, right? Your girlfriend, ex-girlfriend in this case, lovers, friends, right? I'm sure you might know someone that speaks Spanish, Hispanic, right? So there's a couple different things that you can do. Now, let me give you some examples. There's a client of mine, they're based in San Diego. So if you want some example of kind of what that would look like is, so for example, just, I don't want to overcomplicate this. So for example, this is a client of mine. This is a furniture store. Like I said, this applies to any type of retail store, okay? So this is a Hispanic person. Basically talking about the experience going there. Okay, so it's just basically just talking about the experience, obviously, going to the business. So, yeah, so this is something that you can obviously do. If you want to have an example of what kind of like hiring a Spanish representative kind of looks like, I can quickly show you right here. This one, for example. All right, this is a sales rep in the store right here, right? So this is like a typical that we give them script. FYI, if you need somebody to help you with your advertising to kill it for you, we do it for 100 plus retail stores, helping them get you hundreds of thousands a month, right? So, but this is an example. So we give them like obviously the script, the salesperson just records, my team in charge of putting it together, editing, and obviously I do the mounting, right? So this is another example. So this is not a testimonial. This is an actual like sales rep in the store. It's just much easier if you have someone in your store that speaks Spanish, because they can do all the content, and they're incentivized to the content because they want to earn a commission. Most salespeople earn a commission, right? So yeah, I don't want to bore you with too much examples, but that's kind of how you would do it. Yeah, use the right face, the right voice, and the right culture angle, and the results will change immediately, right? And now I'm not saying like obviously Spanish graphics or generic Spanish videos won't work, right? They do, right? I do it all my advertising, right? All my advertising, I incorporate graphics. So for example, this is a graphic, right? But as you can see right here, the graphic, we have a Hispanic person background, right? So graphics work, right? They create volume, right? I also do a lot of AI stuff. For example, there's an AI video, video of the store.
Atención mi gente latina. ¿Sabías que puedes llevarte tus muebles?
Okay, they work. Of course, they use it, right? What I'm trying to say here is if you want to take your Spanish advertising from a 20% effective level to a 100% effective level, you got to do everything. It's a robust marketing strategy, right? Because obviously, what I've seen in the data is this gets you way more leads, right? The generic Spanish graphics, the AI videos, right, in Spanish, they get you more leads. It costs leads more affordable because it gets right to the point faster, right? But in the actual videos where somebody appears on camera speaking, it's a little bit more expensive. Why? Because people have to kind of like understand what this guy's saying, look at him. So it's a bit more expensive. So to make this fully effective, it's a robust strategy, a combination of both, right? But obviously the videos where somebody appears on camera, it's way more effective. Okay, so obviously you can continue graphic ads, the video ads, the Spanish AI ads. If you do so many ads, like they work, obviously, right? But adding the videos where you give the business a face, it's more effective, right? It just builds everything out more. So I remind you, this logic applies to any audience you wish to reach, whether it's Arab, Asian, African American, right? When your marketing reflects the culture of the people you're targeting, everything becomes easier, right? Everything becomes easier, right? Like a big mistake a lot of people do. For example, you run the ad in English. You're like, are you Hispanic? And you want, like, what the hell is that going to do? You got to do it in their language, right? It might cost you a little time on Google Translate, ChatGPT, try to figure out how to do the nuances with English and Spanish, right? But people get lazy. They're like, are you Hispanic and you're looking for furniture? Are you looking for jewelry? Like, yes, it might capture attention. Maybe the Spanish person is bilingual. But if you target to them in their language in Spanish, it changes everything. Right? It's way more effective. It actually gets them to stop scrolling. Like there's a famous leader I really look up to. His name was Nelson Mandela. He just to give you context, I know this is a little outside of like the conversation. He was a leader of South Africa, president of South Africa for many years, and long story short, South Africa has a gazillion languages they speak. I forget what one of the big native languages was. But most South African leaders, they just spoke English. It was like the universal language. But this guy, Nelson Mandela, decided to learn, I forgot what native language it was. I'm going to butcher it if I say it to you. But he learned a native language. And they asked him, like, okay, like, why are you, like, interested in learning these people's languages? Like, you could obviously do diplomacy and run this country with this English. And he made a really interesting quote that's always stuck to me. And I applied it with everything I do, right? In this case, the marketing as well for my clients. And why I do it in a certain way. He said, if you speak to somebody in a language you understand, it goes to their head. If you speak to them in their language, it goes to their heart. Like, obviously, I'm Hispanic. I speak English and Spanish, okay, right? But nothing beats speaking to me in my language. You understand me? You want to joke around with me? It's in Spanish. Obviously, English is the universal. There's not an official language in the USA, but it's like the unofficial universal language of the USA, right? Most of you get lazy. Like, I know you want to target other people, right, other demographics, but you got to put in a bit more work and do it in their language. It just changes everything, right? And like, just I don't want to carry this video too astray, right? But like I said, this logic applies to any audience you want to reach, right? For example, with these clients, I'm helping them reach the Arabic market, right? Obviously, I can run an ad in English, or like, hey, are you an Arab? Are you Muslim and you're looking to furnish your home? Obviously, maybe that attracts the Arab community, but nothing attracts them more than me running an ad in Arabic, everything Arabic, right? Testimonials in Arabic. A person in the store that's Arab, right? So these are the kind of things that you got to take into consideration, right? To be really effective, right? Reaching other demographics. In this case, obviously the Hispanic community. So I know I talked about a lot of different things in this video. If you want help building a strategy that makes you dominate the Hispanic market, hire us, right? Like, obviously, you know, this is exactly what you need, right? But if you want somebody to like kind of like make it hassle-free, just don't even think about this, hire us. We can help you. We've done this for dozens and dozens of different stores, right? We specialize in turning cultural alignment to consistent, predictable sales. We help you tap into this market, right? And we've done it for many stores. We want you to be next if you're ready. If not, hopefully you got value out of this video. If you are interested in working with us, in the description of this video will be a link. You can schedule time with us to talk. But yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and share this to another store owner that could need this advice from this video.